Spotify is paying up for video podcasters, and YouTube viewers are binging shows on TV-sized screens. So visuals, they really aren't optional. They're money. And so today we're going to actually grab a podcast clip and spin out different things like show notes, thumbnails, shorts, and social threads. And we're going to do this live. We'll also cover a little bit about Alphana's new personalization, plus the new podcast workflow that we've created and how that does all the heavy lifting for you. We'll watch how we turn these shows into revenue ready visual kit in minutes. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started, and we'll show you a lot of the good stuff that we've got here today. You know, I found a great episode that covers a little bit about the changes that Spotify made earlier this year for creators. And for those of you that are creating podcasts, putting it up online, they've changed up a little bit of their incentives. And so we'll see some of that content that we pull out of here. But not only that, podcasts have been moving for a while now, but maybe some of you aren't doing it yet, but more into video. And so you've got to be able to leverage video into that. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to take a podcast episode that talks about these topics, so it's all relevant. And we're going to turn that into how you could prepare your show notes and how you can create multiple pieces of content all in one shot. And what you're seeing here is on my Alphana dashboard. I've got my dashboard with a bunch of different projects and videos that I've loaded in here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. Now, when I create a new project, what I want to do is I want to be able to select the podcast episode that I recorded in order to be able to repurpose it. In this case, what I did was I pulled up someone else's podcast so I could show you a live example. So you could actually come here and click add YouTube or upload, and go ahead. If you have the podcast episode, you haven't uploaded it yet, you can go ahead and click here where it says video or audio, and then you could drag and drop your file or pull it from one of your drives. Or if you've already got it published on YouTube, go ahead and pop that YouTube link in here and we'll pull that video immediately for you. And in my case, you see, I already got the episode and uploaded it. So I'm just going to click reuse my library, and I'm going to see now I've got all my videos and content that I've uploaded in the past. And so this first one, which talks about Spotify's new partner program, I'm going to pull up this one so we can create a new project out of this. Okay. Now that I've selected this video, what I want to do is I want to actually select a new template that I just published. So if I scroll down, we've already made this public for all of you here. It's called the podcast content workflow. So what's great is that in here, you have a whole selection of templates. You could do stuff for YouTube. You could come up with your target audience. You've got lessons from founders. But in this case, we're going to take the podcast content workflow. And if I expand on that, you're going to see what it does. It turns a podcast into clips, images, social posts, and so much more. And you could see each one of these little bubbles are essentially the content pieces that are going to be created and repurposed from this podcast episode. Everything from covers to shorts to thumbnails, a whole wealth of content. So this is going to be pretty exciting to be able to cover. So now that I've got that selected, I'm going to go ahead down here and I'm going to click the next button. Now here's what's great. When you get to the step, you could personalize a little bit more of the information. If you look on the side right here, it says, hey, this is the instructions that we're going to tell the AI when it's generating your content. You want to be able to select things like the tone. So in this case, you know, you got friendly, conversational, professional. I'm going to go ahead and use conversational. For reading level, you could select, okay, 6th grade, middle school, high school, through it. Now, in general, for a wider audience, I recommend you do a 6th grade reading level. But for some of you, it just depends on your audience, the content, who you're talking to. You could select high school, college, doctorate. Go ahead and personalize that. Now, what's great is in here, you could actually change all this, right? And you could say exactly how write like XYZ person. I'm just giving you an example. So you don't have to use our pre-made options, although the pre-made are just there to be quick and easy. The next thing you could do is select your target audience. You could say, hey, founders, marketers, it all depends on who it is. But again, you could fill this in. So you could literally say like, you know, write for founders who previously exited a company, or write for dads who don't like to shop. Maybe you're a service that helps dads who don't like to shop and helps come up with whatever they need to buy or something like that. So I'm just making up examples. I'll just put in here creators, choose my language, it's English, right? And then last but not least, to personalize the content, you can put any additional instructions. You can add things like your brand colors that you wanted to use for the images. You could choose, you know, words to avoid, do's and don'ts. Just go ahead and put whatever information you think. Click next. And I recommend this. If you are doing a podcast, I do recommend that you edit the transcript before you generate. I'm going to go ahead and hit generate so you can see what that looks like. But essentially in this aspect, you're going to have the ability to be able to edit the speaker names and correct any spellings inside of the video or the transcript. If I come in here, I got this podcast episode from Roberto Blake. Now, I previously already filled this in, which is why you see it filled in, but this might have just said speaker 1. So what you do is you click the little bubble and you can click on that person and you could change it. So I could say John, and I click enter, and you'll see that it'll change everywhere in the transcript, everywhere that John is displayed. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back to Roberto Blake. Did I say that right? Let's see. Let me just make sure. Yeah. Roberto Blake. And so we're using his video so we can show you guys an example. He also covers a lot on the Spotify changes, so this is going to be a great one for you guys. Now, the other thing you could do is you could actually scroll through to read the transcript, see if there's any parts you want to remove. For example, let's say you don't want this part in the transcript. Maybe it's an ad that you guys had pre-inserted into the podcast episode. You could click here, delete, and delete this portion from the context, right? Now you're saying like, why would I want to delete the ads from my episode? Well, it's not that you're deleting it from the episode. You could still use your raw file that you're published, but in this case, you don't want that the AI is writing about the ads, right? You want it to write about the content. So what I could do here is actually remove anything that's talking about that ad or promo that you inserted in there. Or maybe you had a lot of banter back and forth for the first 10 minutes of your podcast episode, and you really don't want content representing that. You could go ahead and delete that from here. The other thing you could do is come in here and you can edit each individual word. You just double click on any word that you want to change. I could delete this and I could say cool, right? I'm just making up an example. And now I changed the word requirements to cool, right? I'm going to obviously undo that and put back requirements. But why do we do this is so that, again, you have misspellings. This could be for like, let's say they misspelled your name or you want to correct information that the transcript didn't catch. Now, our transcripts are like 95, 98% accurate. So most of the time it gets it done right, but there's occasionally some words that it may not get. Again, this gives you the flexibility to perfect some of this content that you can edit. But now let's move forward. We made edits to our transcript. We edited the speakers. So now we know who the speakers are. If I had 4 speakers in here, you would see 4 bubbles. You can make the edits as you want. And now let's generate the content. I'm going to go ahead and hit generate, and we'll just give that a moment to start generating. Meanwhile, if you've got any questions, please go ahead, drop that into the chat. As you can see here, once you get here, you'll see that it's generating content. Now, look at this sidebar. Look at all this content we're going to create. Descriptions, covers, images, titles, scripts, and you'll see the content starts generating live right before your eyes. Each one of these are called cards. Each individual card is going to start generating content for you, all based on the settings, all based on the video transcript. And so, if you shoot a podcast and you perfected it and you came up with the content and you're interviewing people, the last thing you want to do is spend hours coming up with all the content to put up on your site, to put on social media, to put clips and short form on Instagram and YouTube Shorts. So this essentially will do it all for you, and it all generates in real time. And so we're going to give this a minute to wrap up so you can see the content that's being generated. Right, look at that. It's still going. We're generating a blog post. Look at that. Beautiful. We've got different pieces coming in. Let's just look at this example, right, as the content's being generated. Here's a Twitter thread. This could be used for X, or it could be used on Instagram Threads app. And I'm going to read this out loud. This kind of covers a lot of the Spotify updates as well. Spotify just made a game-changing move. They're now offering creators a monetization program, much like YouTube's partner program. This opens up the door to passive income for podcasters through ad revenue, premium memberships, and subscriptions. So here's what you need to qualify for Spotify's partner program. Upload at least 12 episodes, not necessarily within 30 days, achieve 10,000 watch hours in the first 30 days, have 2,000 unique listeners in the same period. It's tough, but it's achievable, especially with a solid back catalog. Now, why is this huge? Spotify distributes podcasts across multiple platforms, including Apple. Video podcasts can now reach wider audiences through Spotify's network. Ads and premium memberships allow creators to profit from every listener. This is about maximizing your reach and revenue streams. How to make the most of this opportunity? Repurpose your YouTube live streams or podcasts for Spotify. Use tools like StreamYard to download high-quality episodes and transcripts. Upload consistently to build a robust back catalog, and you could start preparing that now to hit those requirements. Spotify also offers subscription-based monetization. You need just 2 episodes and 100 streams to qualify. So this is similar to YouTube's channel memberships with the lower requirements, a perfect way to monetize while building up to ad revenue. Subscriptions are a great entry point for new creators. By the way, these are the first 5 tweets in the thread, right? We're kind of covering. But this is also good, meaty content if you think about what's happening with Spotify and what they've been doing over the last couple months to really try to monetize what they're doing. Short-form content's another key to success. Spotify allows creators to use podcast clips for promotion. This is key. This is why we have a platform like Alphana, so you can leverage that to be able to create clips from your podcast episodes. That helps with discovery, with reach, setting Spotify apart with other platforms. So repurpose content for platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. All of these help drive traffic back to your podcast episode. So what's the best part? If you're already creating long-form content on YouTube, this is pure passive income. You could redistribute your existing content to Spotify in order to tap into their massive audience. Spotify's premium memberships mean you earn whether ads play or not. So this is a no-brainer for creators. Spotify is leveling up the field for content creators. And so you can learn more about their content program. This puts in a great call to action. Beautiful. And what do I have here? I have a beautiful thread that I could post on Instagram Threads. I could post this on X, or previously named Twitter. And it's a piece of content that I can use directly for my podcast episode. Now that we've kind of covered threads, let's go back to the top. Looks like everything completed. This one right here took too long, so we'll just go ahead and regenerate this one while that's running. If you recorded a podcast episode, and again, a podcast episode, it could have been an interview. This will work in both use cases, but you recorded a podcast episode. You got to come up with things like the description. You got to extract clips. You got to come up with images. You got to come up with social posts, a title, and so many other details. Now look what we have here. Right here, a beautiful podcast description that you could use to copy and paste and put this into Apple Podcasts, Spotify podcasts, even on YouTube for their description. We're generating short form clips that you can use. Now that we've got this, we've created 10 YouTube shorts that you could use from your podcast episode. Now all the images in the thumbnails looks like they're loading. Beautiful. And so if I come in here, I could select, and let's see if I got my audio turned on. Is it on? Let me see. 1 second. All right. Well, I don't know if you'll be able to hear my audio, but I'm going to go ahead and hit play. All right, so I muted it in case you can't hear it, but you could see here now we extracted a clip from 57 seconds to 2 minutes and 8 seconds. And what's great is that we generate titles and descriptions for each individual clip. So the titles and the descriptions are for each individual clip, and it gives you a nice explanation of what's going on in the video. You could watch what the clip is all about, and it looks great. Now you've got several clips. We've got 10 different clips here that you could choose from. You could post all or just a few. And what's great is I can enable captions. You could choose your font color, your background color. Let's say I wanted to make that red. And then from here, you could choose whether you want the content to fill, fit, or auto. What's great is that you could tailor this content towards the platforms that you're going to be using it. Now, auto works great if the speaker is not in the center, right? In this case, he's already kind of centered depending on parts of the video, so I really don't need it. But if you've got multiple speakers, auto will use our AI auto crop feature that will automatically reposition the speakers and stack them on top of each other, or it might automatically determine to focus on the one speaker who's speaking, and it centers everyone in the frame. So that's a great benefit to be able to save you time from having to reformat speakers after recording a podcast episode. And for, screen shares and other content, what you could do is you could select fit, which will fit the entire video so that somebody can see all the content on the screen. Great features here. No matter how you exported it, if you've already exported it vertical and you needed this to be landscape, you could always click download and you could change those settings. So I can come over here and click vertical and change that to landscape if I wanted to, or square if you wanted to put it on a different platform. We automatically handle the cuts, the crops, and everything that you need for that. Next up, I've got my podcast episode. We're getting it ready to put on Spotify. We're generating clips that you could put on Spotify to promote, as well as YouTube Shorts. Now, what else do you need for a podcast episode? Now, this one's optional. Okay, so we leave it out of the template, but I'm showing it to you here so that you guys get an idea. But let's say you don't have a podcast cover yet, right? And you want some inspiration, ideas, or an image that you can use as your podcast cover. Well, here it is, right? We have a card that will automatically analyze based on the footage and generate a couple options for a podcast cover. In this case, this says podcast because the entire video is talking about podcasts and Spotify. So it's naturally pulling in some of the keywords and insights from that. Here's another one that shows a nice microphone. And what the beauty of it is that we actually generate the prompts for every one of these images. So you get to see exactly what was described, and it's all based on the content from the episode. Here's another one talking about a podcast. It shows it on a laptop with a cup of coffee. And last but not least, minimalist but bold style with a play button in the center. So this comes up with several options. You could copy the prompts. You can edit the images. You don't have to use these images as is. And what's great is I can come in here and click edit. And when you do that, you'll see the full prompt we use to generate this entire all 4 of these images. And they're very detailed. So most likely if it generated something that you wanted or you didn't want, it's most likely because of how we are prompting it. So you guys could edit this as you want and then regenerate. The next thing we look at here are podcast video thumbnails. If you record your podcast, you need a thumbnail to feature on YouTube as an example. In this case, we do the landscape version thumbnails that could be used for YouTube and anywhere else where you're going to post a video. Now let's look at what this came up with. First up, monetize your back catalog. This is actually pretty cool. It's using like a cassette tape that glows in the dark. I don't know how many of you, but if you ever used cassette tapes in the past, definitely was a thing back then. But here you go, a YouTube thumbnail image featuring a glowing cassette tape on a wooden desk, symbolizing the transformation of old content into new opportunities. You see, hence why they're using the cassette tape concept. The words monetize your back catalog are etched into the cassette itself with a soft ambient light highlighting the text. Beautiful. I mean, look at how that matched up. It literally matched it up to what's inside of the video. Next up, a photorealistic scene of a vintage microphone surrounded by stacks of dollar bills. Yeah, let's make some money. Representing podcast monetization. The text Spotify creator Goldmine is engraved into the microphone's metallic surface with a spotlight illuminating the setup. So beautiful. You guys could see that here. This came up with, again, 4 different podcast video thumbnails. Here's another one on a desktop with a podcast interface. And last but not least, you got Spotify podcast on a smartphone. Now, just imagine how much time it would have taken to create all these images before, right? You didn't have to go in and transcribe it and then click copy on a transcript and then go to different platforms to try to decipher what's on there, come up with prompts for every one of the images, and then go into an image generation tool to create it. No. Right? In this case, you plugged in your video once and out came out all of this content in one shot. All the prompts pre-made, already written for you, so you don't have to do any thinking for it. Let's look at another one, okay? Now, these are quote images. How many times do we have a podcast episode and some interesting quotes that were said? And wouldn't it be great if we could make visuals out of it? That's what we have here. We are now quoting, and we have a podcast quote card that generates. And in this one, this is a comic book style. You don't have to use the comic book style. You could change the style if you wanted to, but this one's more fun. So I'm kind of showing you a good example. Now, if you look here, look at this one, right? Spotify revenue on one side, you got YouTube channel analytics on the other. And now it's like, now you're going to profit both ways. Wow. I mean, think about this, right? YouTube always had a incredible monetization strategy, their platform for their creators and people who are uploading content, interviews, casts, and those episodes. And Spotify now has really leveled it up this year. And I guess they're trying to really push how much you can make on it. So this could work, right? So there's no reason why you should only put up a podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, right? You should get your podcast up everywhere. And if you're not recording your podcast with video, you are losing out on probably half of the world of audiences that would have listened to your podcast, right? So you got to jump in on it. You're already recording a 30-minute or a 60-minute session of a podcast. And so you might as well turn on the cameras and have that content handy, because YouTube has a big push for podcasts now. And so you could actually input your RSS feed. You can bring in all your podcast episodes and organize them a podcast on YouTube as well. So now you've got Spotify, you've got Apple, you've got YouTube, all these places where podcasts can go. And so make sure you got video in there, right? Even Spotify is supporting video podcasts, right? And so this is the world we're in. Get your content out on video, and then you can repurpose it and put it on here. Now, for those of you that don't have video, what do? Well, we have images that you could put in a post, and then guess what? You could just put the audio behind it. That works as well. At least you could put a visual with it. So you've got this visual here as an example. You could either post this as a post on Instagram as an image, a LinkedIn post, or you could leverage it with your podcast episode as the audio sound in the background. Here's another one, right? Let's see. This will help you get the watch time required. So you upload, help you get the number of stream listeners required, and help you get the number of upload episodes required. Boom. Here's another one. Turning this into a podcast format will be relatively easy. Hold another quote from the video, last but not least, you could start earning a lot more money through this type of repurposing. Guys, I can't tell you, repurpose your content, leverage Alphana and repurpose your content, and you'll see how you can make more money or get more clients, drive more business towards your company, because we are generating a ton of content in here and it's for not as much effort. Generating this entire project took less than a couple minutes. So very easy and quick to get off the ground. Now we've got a couple image assets, beautiful. Now, what else is important? Podcast chapters, okay? You've seen this probably on YouTube, the YouTube chapters. These are chapters to break down what each segment of the podcast episode's about. Now, this was a short clip. I don't know, maybe it was like 10 minutes long. So it only had 3 timestamps to cover. And the 3 of them, the intro, Spotify's big move to monetize creators, how to monetize podcasts with Spotify's partner program. And then the last piece is tips for becoming a full-time content creator. So this is what this video is about. But if I show you other videos, sometimes these timestamps, these chapters could be 10 timestamps long or 20, right? If you have a 3-hour podcast episode, which by the way, our platform supports. So if you shoot a 3-hour podcast upload in here, you'll probably see 20 to 30 different chapters. And of course, you can condense it later if you want, but we try to break out and itemize that. Now, why is this important? You want to be able to put these chapters on YouTube, and you can throw it on Spotify and Apple and all the other channels as well. Because let's say on YouTube, if I click on the timestamp, it'll help the user and guide them and skip automatically to that part of the video. And so it lets people see what they want to see first and lets them kind of navigate around. So a very useful feature. I want to see if they have it here. All right, so he's not breaking down timestamps on here, but I'll show you more examples later. But timestamp chapters automatically generated. Now here's another one. We automatically analyze the entire video. We analyze the transcript. And from that, we try to come up with the top 10 best titles for that episode. So maybe you already came up with a title, but you need to come up with more options, right? Maybe you're still trying to ideate and figure out what those titles are. You don't need to go manually back and forth and do that, right? Just pop that in here and you can see a couple. So I'm going to read a couple titles and see if any of them kind of stick out. Number 1, how to monetize your podcast on Spotify in 2025. That's a great one-liner. Boom. Number 2, step-by-step guide to earning passive income with Spotify. Another good one. Number 3, can you really make money on Spotify like YouTube? Beautiful. Number 4, what does Spotify's partner program mean for creators? Number 5 tips to hit Spotify's monetization requirements fast. You'll see that these titles, they're all written in a specific way to be able to drive attention. They try to leverage numbers when they can, like 5 tips, 7 ways, or they try to break it down by steps, like a step-by-step guide, because these are all things that have been proven to work on YouTube for podcasts and in different ways, because they're pulling, number 1, context from the video. So none of this is clickbait. They're all written based off of what's being discussed in the video. So meaning you're going to drive more users into, or listeners and watchers onto your podcast episode. But they also leverage a lot of the best practices like integrating numbers, putting together what the outcome is, or showing and guiding them on how to do something. So it's leveraging the key insights you need to be able to generate these titles. All right. Next up, what else did we create? Podcast screenshots, right? Look at this. You know, for some of you, if you talked about this and you're like, hey, we don't have images or anything like that, you can now come in here and try to find an image that you could throw into a blog post or throw into another post if you're just trying to get screenshots. And this will automatically run through the video and get you a couple different screenshots from the video. And you could see those here. Now, this was the same person talking the entire time. So most of them are of this person, the host. So that works out great. Now we're marketing this content, okay? The other piece to it. Number 1, the biggest miss that I see with people when they shoot a podcast episode is that they actually don't generate a blog post for it. You're missing out on SEO, and it's like free marketing to help get organic growth. So take your podcast episodes or your interviews, drop them into Alphana, and automatically generate a blog post. Use this blog post and put it on your website. What's great is it's already optimized with the keywords based off of what was discussed inside of the video. It comes up with the title, comes up with the description, and it really covers in depth in a blog-like format everything about the content, about the podcast episode. And what's great is towards the end or in the middle, you can embed a link to your podcast or to the video if somebody wants to watch the video version of it. But this does all the hard work for you in generating a blog post and converting what that transcript into a blog post looks like. Now, here's what's great. If I click edit, you'll see this isn't just a standard prompt of like, hey, turn my transcript into a blog post a blog post. That is weak. If you look at what we do here, we actually are very detailed in what we want this blog post to look like. We want it to be a minimum of 1,000 words. We're very detailed on the content we want it to create, how we want the subheadings, preserving the numbers, the stats. Don't start with the cliche like in today's world. So you could see that we're very particular with how we structure this blog post, which is great because number one, it provides more consistency. So you know that all your blog posts will be a little bit more consistent, but it'll always change based on the content that you're talking about. But number two, it also provides, it also gives you a playbook if you'd like to edit this prompt and make tweaks so that you could save it to be able to reuse it for later. Right? Because you can set up your own workflow inside of Alphana. Take advantage of what you see in here. We've now got approximately a 1,000 word blog post already produced. All I got to do literally is click copy, put that on my website if I was putting this on there. If you're a podcaster or an interview, or you're an agency, or you're a producer and you work with on podcast shows, like this is a huge opportunity here. Number one, you could resell this if you wanted to, if you are selling this to other podcast hosts, okay? Generate all the content for them and just let them pay you to put it up on their site and have it ready. Boom, it generates the content, click copy, go paste it wherever it is that you need to go. This is also great if you're trying to do this. So just take advantage, generate the content. Next up, we got an email newsletter. I shot my podcast episode, I published it and I put it out. I put a blog post on my website. Hey, I want to email all my subscribers. Hopefully all of you have started signing up users. You started collecting emails. You want to send out an email. And in there, what it does is it kind of breaks down the latest episode, talks about what's inside the episode, and it tells them why they should watch it. So now they're getting educated and motivated and pumped up. And then right here is where you would put a link with a call to action for them to go watch it on YouTube or wherever it is that you want to drive them to go watch this piece of content. This is already set up and formatted. All you got to do is drop the link to where your podcast episode is. Number two, it's got placeholders for the show name. So if in your custom instructions, you were very detailed about the name of your show, right? Then this would automatically fill it out. If it doesn't, all you got to do is click copy and you could replace this as well. So definitely take advantage. Here's an email newsletter. Go and drop that into systems like Substack, Beehive, MailChimp, whatever email software that you're using. So now that you're putting it on over there, you want to post about this, okay? Go ahead and post this on LinkedIn, is all right? Especially from a B2B standpoint, that works well. Again, if you don't want to use LinkedIn, you don't have to, but this generates a LinkedIn post automatically with a hook. They all come in with something catchy and phrasey at the beginning. What is going to get people's attention? So like in this case, what would get people's attention, especially if you're a podcaster, is like, hey, Spotify just announced a groundbreaking monetization opportunity for creators. All right, if I'm a podcaster or a creator, I'm going to want to keep reading. I want to know how I can make more money, right? Now let's keep going. Spotify for Creators now mirrors the YouTube Partner Program, offering podcasters ad revenue and premium listener income. This is a game changer for anyone creating long-form content. Boom, I'm hooked. I'm creating content for YouTube. Maybe I'm making money. I want to make more money. I'm going to jump onto the Spotify for Creators program. And again, even if you don't care about the money that they would pay you to have your podcast on their platform, you still want to open up to a wider audience. Because maybe you're trying to drive business to your core business, or maybe you are trying to help others and you want the word and the messages to spread even more. So if I keep going, look how this kind of drives the person to keep reading in a LinkedIn post. 10,000 watch hours and 2,000 unique listeners in 30 days unlock monetization. Podcasts, often an hour or more, make this achievable faster than traditional YouTube videos. That's so true. A lot of podcast episodes are longer. Repurposing content is the key. Creators can re-upload YouTube live streams and back catalogs to Spotify, turning the existing content into passive income. Guys, this is so important. If you've been doing YouTube live streams and you've been putting content on YouTube forever and you never put that out as a podcast episode, that is the easiest way to win. Go ahead, grab your 100 videos or dozens of videos that you've already published on YouTube and one by one schedule that podcast episode to come out. You're going to open it up to a whole new audience, okay? Unless you had over 8 billion streams on each one of your videos, trust me, no one's seen your content yet. So let's get it out on Spotify. Next up, simple workflow for success. It kind of breaks that down. Brand live streams as podcasts. Boom. That's just a name change. Number two, upload to Spotify and YouTube. cover two bases at once, and use tools like Alphana as an example for high quality downloads and transcripts. Perfect. Spotify also supports short form clips for discovery and distributes podcasts across platforms like Apple Podcasts, multiplying your reach. Beautiful. And that's not even the best part. In the full video, Roberto Blake breaks down, and it kind of breaks down what else he covers in the video. So again, this could be for your own episode. It doesn't have to be about someone else's. So you could do this in first person if you wanted to. So that covers kind of the LinkedIn post. What else did we do? We created a Twitter thread, which I already covered with you earlier. And the last two cards that we've created on here are YouTube SEO tags. This is perfect because you can literally copy and paste this and drop it right into YouTube. They have a slot where you can put these in. So awesome. And the YouTube hashtags. So actually, this is the one that you would put in that slot. This one you could put in the bottom of your YouTube description. And what's great is you can add this into Spotify as well as Apple Pod. These are great things. It automatically understands the podcast and it associates it to keywords that people might be searching for, and then automatically lists those out here to help people find your content more. So this is the podcast content workflow. Generates probably more than 30 different assets when you include the videos and the images. It does all of that in less than 5 minutes. This helps you to repurpose any video or podcast that you've previously created all in one shot. Now, here's what else is great. If your podcast is audio only, that's okay too. You don't have to put in a video podcast. You can upload the audio file. It'll generate everything you see here. The only thing it won't do yet is it won't generate an actual video for you, but it'll extract clips from that video, from the audio file. So you know what clips you can use and play them. And again, you could just upload that audio with an image and post that on Instagram Shorts or anything like that. But it'll generate everything else. The images, the text, the blog posts, the insights, all that good stuff. This one is, again, the podcast content workflow. I'm going to show you one more template that we have in here. Again, we've got hundreds of content cards and templates all inside of Alphana that you could choose from. But what I want to do is show you a specific template that turns them into show notes. Okay. Now, it's a little bit different than the podcast content workflow, but this one is more to set up the metadata that you would need as you put out your podcast episode, versus the one that we just showed you not only provides some of the metadata, but generates a ton of content with it. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. Let's see, Spotify's new program. I will click on AI show notes. Here we go. So we have AI show notes. This is going to be very straight to the point. This is something that I use even for our podcast episodes. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. I'll skip this. I don't need to generate the transcript, so I'm just going to skip that as well. And now let's see how this creates. Boom, perfect. What this is going to do, again, there's some overlap with the two templates, but I like to do this one separately because this is how I prepare a video. If I'm going to put a video on YouTube, or even if you're going to use it for a podcast, I'll always run it through our AI show notes tool. And from there, we're going to generate everything from keywords, a summary, key takeaways, titles, thumbnail hooks, all from the video. And I'll kind of show you what these are. But these are so important. And so I like to tackle this first. This is more like I just finished recording our episode. It's ready to go. I need to create all this content to have it so I could just publish it live. And then the other template is like, hey, that's how I'm going to now market my content, right? I'm going to create all the other content we need to be able to market it. All right, perfect. So this kind of wrapped up. It's just finishing with the clips, but meanwhile, I'll cover what's here, okay? The first thing it does is it generates all the keywords. Boom, copy and paste these keywords. You can now drop that into YouTube. If I go to like our YouTube channel, let me see if I can pull that up. Let me switch accounts. All right, let me see our channel. So if I come up to our YouTube channel, perfect. This is a video we actually just published today. I'm going to go ahead and click here. Yes, that's me. So now if I come down here and I click here, you're going to see that I've got a intro description. You see that I've got key takeaways from the video. You'll see that I extracted 3 sound bites. Here you'll see all the chapters written cleanly. And here's the beauty of it. I can click, let's say, Apple Launch, and this skips right to this part of the segment inside of my video. So if I was curious about the Apple slide deck that we created, I can click on it. So here I've got all my chapters, and then I've got information that we use on all of them, like find Sebastian online and all this information with links that people can use. I have all this content. Fantastic. But this is what I use to create it. This is always our starting point. We run it through this template. It generates my keywords, which are added when you're uploading a video. You'll see here, we actually create the summary that you could put at the top of the video. Again, that summary is what you would put here. This one in this case was shorter. but this one's longer, so you can use either way. Here are the key takeaways. We literally go in here, we'll read through it. Sometimes we might eliminate, 3 to 5 if it's not necessary after reading it. But for the most part, here's all the key takeaways that came out of the video. So all you got to do is copy and paste that right here. Now, if I keep scrolling down, it comes up with several title ideas. Boom, I've got 12 different title ideas. Again, all written in a way for YouTube. So I can come in here and pick the one, like let's say this one. Why 10,000 watch hours in 30 days isn't as hard as you think. Perfect. Now I've got my title. I can upload that. You'll see this is where we put our titles. Now, when I come down, we've got something called thumbnail hooks. Thumbnail hooks are going to be the words that are displayed inside of the image. Now, when you use our image card inside and you generate a thumbnail inside of Alphana, we automatically come up with a thumbnail hook somehow integrated into the thumbnail. But if you're going to use this with a designer and you want to figure out what the best thumbnail hook is, you don't have to go rewatch your video or read through the transcript. We automatically from the transcript come up with a couple options that you can use for the thumbnail hook. What's a thumbnail hook? All right, let me go back to my channel. I'm going to go to Alphana. Now, if you look in Alphana, you'll see, look at all these words here. The thumbnail hook are the words that are displayed on the thumbnail. So you'll see the first one here is algorithm shift. That's a thumbnail hook. Okay. If people are interested in the algorithm, they're going to read that. This one here, 16 ads, 5 minutes. Boom. They're like 3 to 4 words or 2 to 4 words at the most that grab your attention. This one's one-click content. This one's from meh to wow, right? Reusing video gold, lyrics to content. And you'll see that if I keep scrolling, you'll see that all of them have some sort of thumbnail hook. When our designer or an assistant is going to come up with a thumbnail for me as an example, if we were doing it that way, they always need to figure out which hooks to use. So we run it through Alphana, comes up with ideas, boom. Now we can leverage one of those hooks to put on a thumbnail. You don't have to figure it out yourself. I'm just going to tell you that thumbnail hooks are a big cheat code. That can make or break the whole reason why your video or your podcast gets shown to more audiences. We literally do A/B testing on our thumbnails to see which ones perform better. Now, there's tools for that, but that's how important it is because it can make a difference from a video getting, 10 views to getting 100 views, or a video that gets 100 views to getting 1,000,000 views, all within the thumbnail. It's that drastic of what can happen. So that's why we have a card dedicated called thumbnail hooks that automatically gets generated with the show notes. Now, next up are sound bites. These are like quotable moments from the video. And we provide like 5 of them, and you can use all 5 or narrow it down to 3. Like, all right, if you have a large back catalog, you're going to profit both ways. Boom. Okay. You can start earning a lot more money through this type of repurposing. Spotify is going to allow you to have clips of your podcast to use for promotion. So this gives you a couple different sound bites that you can use. Again, very important that you want to put this up on Spotify. You want to put this up on YouTube. And again, if you look at our videos, and I'll show you back over here again, you'll see how we use the sound bites. We put it here in the show notes, right? So this entire description, number 1, it's searchable. So people searching on YouTube will find these keywords. Beautiful. And number 2, some people like to read and get a quick grasp of what the video is about before they watch the video. That helps you to have a more engaged audience. So leverage that. Now, just like we did in the last template, we have chapters. Again, you could just use these as is. Those chapters are clickable. Again, for longer videos, like this one was, maybe 45 minutes long, it came up with more than 10 chapters that people can click through. And then, of course, we add some clips in here as well. So now you can leverage some of these clips to be able to use and to be able to publish on YouTube Shorts and any other platform. And again, these short clips are meant to help funnel more traffic back to your long form video. Okay. So there's a great way to get exposure. Hopefully it gets a couple hundred, couple thousand, or millions of views. It depends on your audience. And you want to always drive people back to your long form content. Okay. These are always great ways to be able to do content like that. So that covers a solid podcast repurposing workflow. If you shot a podcast, an interview, drop it into Alphana, leverage our template library, and now you could create a ton of content from that, from images to video to a wealth of other content. So take advantage of it. Take advantage, go through the templates, try these 2 templates out if you've got a podcast. It'll help you to repurpose a ton of content pretty quickly. And if you're on YouTube, please like this post, drop a comment. It really helps the YouTube algorithm and helps us get found. So I'd love your help on that. Again, hit like, drop a comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. that's a wrap for today's session. I appreciate everyone. Thank you all for joining us. If you'd like to see something new for our next episode, please just let me know. Go ahead and drop it into the comments. And I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.